Mandalore Gaming time, everybody. Welcome to Solo ReacTalk. Today tonight, I'm going to be reacting to Thief Deadly Shadows. It's in relation to Thief The Dark Project review and Thief 2 The Metal Age review. If you want to check out those reaction videos, remember the playlist card will be at the top. Just click on it and you'll be able to access them. Yes, in Thief 1, we were dealing with Garrett. Oh yeah, also in Thief 2, we were dealing with Garrett. Garrett is the main character that you play as. And in both Thief 1 and Thief 2, we had different enemies to fight against. Well, I wouldn't necessarily say we were fighting against an enemy in number 1, Thief 1. The Woodsy Lord, or Constantine as he's also called. We weren't actually fighting against him. He actually ripped out our eye, or should I say Garrett's eye, out of his socket. Well, he actually commanded Victoria to do that. Yes. Okay. Sorry guys. I'm just remembering these these events. In number 2, we were dealing with Paris. Right? Yes, his name is Paris. He was also an evil character in Thief 2, although the storylines don't really coincide with each other, both from Thief 1 and Thief 2, so they're different. So I'm wondering, in Thief 3 or Thief Deadly Shadows, what is this going to be, like a continuation of Thief 2 or Thief 1, or is this going to be something totally different as well, like how the previous 2 installments of the game were? So yeah, let's find out. 3, 2, 1, go.
What in the... I have seen that. Ha! The builder hath led me to thee. Builder, guide my arm!
We made it to the end of the trilogy.
Sometimes I forget that in this game they're speaking old English, maybe I can say. Yeah, very old English. Yeah.
This is Thief Deadly Shadows. This was going to be called Thief 3, but the series was now making its debut on the Xbox, so they didn't want to be scaring any new players off. My brain always wants me to call this Thief Invisible War, with good reason. It has some of the exact same problems, uses the same weird version of Unreal 2, and was made by the same developer. But that would be a little too harsh. Looking Glass may have been gone, but a lot of key figures did return. Having the studio behind Deus Ex do it seems like the next best thing. I'm going to have to structure this video differently because, like Thief 1 and 2, it has a fan patch. Unlike the others, this one is much more substantial. So
He said a fan patch. You know what that means. You have to install other programs to make this program work better for this program to also work better. Yeah, you're not gonna get me with that. I won't be playing this game, definitely. Like the past 2 games, Thief 1 and Thief 2, I'm not playing them. I'll enjoy Mandalore Gaming playing them, yeah.
right off the bat, I need to say what's terrible. And what better sign could there be than the main menu? You can see my recording icon flash up there because it's a little unstable. So how about a new game?
I got a tip last night from my fence. Heartless Perry.
Yeah, remember those haunting atmospheric briefing cutscenes? Those are all gone now. But things get worse. This is papyrus font. There are only 2 reasons to ever use this. One is you're a kid making a PowerPoint and you need your classmates to realize that you're in the know with ancient Egypt. Or you're making a high concept album.
And you look into the eyes of the wolf.
Look, Mandalore Gaming, you have to understand it's a new game, okay? It's a new game for Xbox. They're trying something new, they're trying something fresh. So leave them alone, okay? They're trying to impress the market, to buy their games and, to enjoy. And if that means using Egyptian font, then so be it. And it looks cool. I don't know what's the problem.
Black and cold, red and old.
This is neither, so it sucks. For the first mission, you're locked into normal difficulty. This might seem overbearing until you actually play it, and wow. You need to follow every move laid out for you exactly, and if you deviate from it even a little bit, then you fail. I know it's just a tutorial, but it's surprising to see this kind of mindset in a Thief game. Thief 1's training was linear, sure, but this feels like it's on rails. If you're coming into this fresh off of Thief 1 or 2, you'll notice that the movement is awful.
I don't really like this, actually. Even if it is a tutorial, I don't like this. In Thief 1 and Thief 2, we never had, or should I say, they never had, glowing steps for how you should be directed, going left or right, or, So, I don't know. It kind of feels like you're being spoon-fed the information instead of you learning how to play the game. But, okay.
That's because this is both a first and third person game. After some experimenting, I found out the controls are designed for neither. In Deadly Shadows, your movement is based on animation. When Garrett turns or strafes, his body has to actually move first. So that jitter you see when the animation snaps directions also carries over to first person. It adds a terrible layer of jerkiness to everything you do. It's like your legs have to approve a bill before they let you turn. A quick lean to check a corner doesn't work anymore. It's slow and you expose yourself to the light because you're taking a weird gigantic step now. I can only guess that they figured most people would switch to third person to look around corners. Having a lean that terrible seems like a concession for people who want to stay playing in first person. The tutorial level is shockingly tiny, and this carries over into the next mission. The rooms are cramped and narrow, but it's not over yet, because now the mission is broken up into different loading zones. So instead of having one big interconnected map, you'll have 2 or maybe 3 different levels built into one mission. This only emphasizes how crammed in things are now. It's kind of shocking how tiny these additional areas can be, but that's what you had to do to make it fit on the Xbox. This was a nice looking game for 2004, and that came at a sacrifice. It was also a PC performance hog. The engine has a lot of issues. If you run the game too well, lockpicking and ladders can break. Compatibility is bad, there's no proper widescreen, so let's try and fix things up a bit. Enter the Sneaky Upgrade mod. It fixes lots of bugs and engine issues like T-Fix 1 and 2 did, but also includes options to make it feel more like the Thief I know and love. For this, I'm installing everything except for the texture pack and the Minimalist project. The textures still have that kind of out of place issue at times, but the Minimalist project does have some cool stuff in it. It's just very customizable, and you should probably know the game before you start monkeying with it. So what did I put in? Graphically, the fonts are sharper and there's proper widescreen support now. Some of the animations have been outright replaced. It's still not as responsive as the old game, but it's a noticeable improvement. There's still a jitter to the controls that will never fully go away, but I'll talk more about that in detail later. The tutorial mission can now be played on any difficulty, and the glowing feet only appear on easy. Some loot has been added, so it's now kind of a proper mission.
Okay, so the glowing footsteps only applied on easy mode. Okay. Alright. I will... Okay, yeah, it's fine. I'm just... I'm sorry.
Some amazing news, the level loading zones are now gone. Once again, you play in one big map. This is one of the reasons I love video games. Sometimes you come back to them years and years later and the community has made all kinds of cool stuff for them. Speaking of, guess what else is back?
I got a tip last night from my fence. Heartless Perry. A nobleman named Lord Julian had some sort of quarrel and showed up at a local inn well after.
But it's not actually drawn out, like in how it was in Thief 1, how it was drawn out. This one looks more computerized, more pixelated. Yeah, it looks like it's just from the game, the images from the game, and then they just splashed on black and white.
After nightfall.
All the mission briefings have cutscenes again. They are a bit limited since hand-drawn art takes time and money and they had to use screenshots, but the style is emulated really well. The choice of music and audio stingers is great. Once again, this is all highly tweakable, but the default install should take care of you. Typically when I recommend mods for a first-time player, it's something pretty, light. This is more of an overhaul than usual. I just want that to be cooking in the back of your brain. It is substantial, but I think it's the best way you could play the game. But
I like the compass. You know how it goes northwest, southeast. It's interesting. I like how it does that. But what's that center glowing thing?
Vanilla game is worse in a lot of ways. It's due to hard, unpaid work that a few people did that we even have it this good. So finally, I can play the game. Garrett has quite the adventure resume, but once again he's back to basics. It's not clear exactly how long it's been since Thief 2, but I'd have to guess at least a few years, because things look quite a bit different compared to Thief 2. That's a...
Yeah, well, there is one thing that I have an issue with this Thief Deadly Shadows, is that it doesn't look like we are still in Thief 2 in terms of the environment. You know, like how it was with the kind of like steampunk technology with electricity. There's no electricity here. There's only candles with lights, and there are no machines, because in number 2 there were machines. In number 1, in fact, what is it? Deadly Shadows and Thief 1, The Dark Project, kind of look similar. I must admit that they kind of look similar. They don't look, it doesn't look anywhere near to what Thief 2 looked like, with its, let's just say it had more light. Yeah, Thief 2 had more light, it had more technology, it had robots. This one doesn't have any of that. Yeah.
Good place to start. Where Thief 2 could look a lot like the Dark Project, Thief 3 is on a brand new engine. The lighting is dramatic, using stencil shadows for its darkness. The same thing that games like Fear would use. The clarity makes it a lot easier to tell where you can sneak. The series was usually good about this, but there would be times when it was hard to tell how dark was dark. The light gem seeming to be brighter than I would think still happens, but not nearly as often. Also, a compass is attached to it now, which is a fantastic change. Controlling light is still a key to success, but there are some new tricks this time. You can be revealed by environmental effects like lightning or moving light sources, like the enemies that now carry them. So you can't rely on every guard just bumbling after you in the dark anymore. Sure, the models are better, and the textures are better sometimes, but the new lighting is really where I found the most benefit. It's a case where having better graphics enhances the gameplay. It's clear where to sneak, and visually there's a lot of atmosphere. As for the art direction, it's gone backwards. In Thief 2, the city was going through a mechanical Victorian revolution, and that's all over. The only sign of the mechanist revolution even happening are some journal entries and a few turntables. It is
That's sad. That's sad.
mentioned that some massive trials happened, so I guess they decided that Karis was just like the Hindenburg of people, and stopped using anything he had anything to do with. So there are no robots this time, or cameras, or alarms, or even that many electronic lights. Though when they do show up a lot, you're in for a treat. So we're back to that more gothic style that Thief 1 had, where they just happen to have some electricity around. Honestly, I do prefer that over it going full steampunk, but it still feels like a bit of a loss. At the very least, I would have loved to have like a mechanist's holdout map, where they still have cameras and alarms and robots stomping around. Instead, technology seems to have regressed even beyond Thief 1. The hammers didn't ban it or anything because they are still making new stuff. It just seems like things were pulled too far back.
Yeah, this is definitely a whole new game. It's not Thief 1, it's not Thief 2, it's its own standalone thing. Really, when the developers wanted to make this game, they wanted to make sure that new players who are playing it on the Xbox would be playing a totally different experience from those who played this game or this franchise on the computer. They wanted to make sure, and I guess they've succeeded in that.
But maybe that's more of a gameplay issue. It might stand out to me more because the location variety is a lot lower than it used to be. If you like stonework and castles, you're gonna have a good time. There's so much stone. Biblical Divorce Court didn't have this much stone. The Dark Project had a lot of castles too, but there might be like some red brick or wood paneling. There was distinction to it, and the Metal Age really stepped that up. Deadly Shadows does have some standout areas, but they feel more rare. After staring at footage like a madman for a while, I thought of some more reasons why. If you played the missions back to back, it might not be an issue. The thing is, Deadly Shadows now has a city hub. You come back to it after every mission, you can buy and sell items, there are side quests. The point for now is that you'll be coming here a lot. The hub is mainly narrow castle streets, so then you go to a mission that looks just like it. It's atmospheric and looks nice, but it gets repetitive. What makes it worse is, as I said before, the levels are crunched down. It's a subconscious effect that's hard to put into words, so I'm wrestling with my caveman brain here. Thief has always tried to sell its levels as being like a real place. It had a scale to match that, which is still pretty staggering now. First City Bank and Trust feels like a place. It's enormous and interconnected, but also has some areas that would just be in a bank. You have teller offices, conference rooms, areas for the workers. There are out-of-the-way areas with no treasure that I guess you could hide in, but not many guards around there either. It's just something that a building like this would have. But now think that you're very space limited. You can't fit in as much non-essential stuff like that anymore. Your levels are already being cut apart by loading screens. So they tried to keep that aspect, but it's so scaled down that it's just kind of silly. The first few levels are especially bad about this. Everything is so narrow and so many rooms are similarly sized that they all begin to feel the same. Like, lacking openness in a castle's hallways is understandable. It doesn't feel lavish, but I buy it. When you get to the Fisher-Price Great Hall, though, that's when it's apparent something's wrong. When things do open up more, it still feels sparse and empty. They probably couldn't fit anything else in. Again, I'm not saying that everything's barren. There are some great locations and they use the most out of what they got, but what they got wasn't a whole lot. So if you're feeling boxed in over and over, it's because you are. Deadly Shadows
No! No! Why? Why are you doing this, Mandalore? Please, no!
uses EAX4, so once again you're in for some good sound.
Anybody there? We're friendly and don't know how to fight.
The sound effects themselves are very clean. They don't have that grainy sounding compression that some of the first two games had at times. So the way sound propagates is better than ever. I knew it was good when I can make it back outside of a castle just by listening for the crickets. That's some good sound. The voice acting is excellent too, and all professionally done. If anyone was grabbed out of their office chair to do some lines this time, I couldn't tell. There's a lot more characters and different interactions now, so that's pretty impressive. As expected, Stephen Russell is better than ever.
Ah, the city. Obey the law, and there's no need to worry about the residents. The city watch are the guys who want to lock me up, though. Gotta keep my eye out for them.
They're just a bit on the testy side, you know? Grumpy 'cause they're wet. Idiot. Wet or dry, zombies don't care. Oh!
The only thing that's a step down quality-wise is the music. It's not grating, it's competent, but I don't remember it. They're fitting tension tracks when you're playing the level, but nothing really stuck with me.
Yeah, okay, let me also, be honest with myself here, that I don't really remember the soundtracks or the music from Thief 1 and Thief 2. I wasn't really interested in the music per se. I was more interested in the gameplay and the gaming environment itself. I just never really took notice of the soundtracks. So yeah, with this one I'm probably not even going to remember. Yeah.
It is mixed in with the ambience like usual, so I wasn't expecting anything huge here. You just won't have an assassin's breakbeat or creepy sirens from Framed. Though to be fair, this game is probably the scariest. By most accounts, the sound is better than ever, which makes this next part of it even stranger. Out of the entire trilogy of games, sound probably matters the least here. Previously, you would do your best to avoid metal and tile flooring. It would give you away quick, and training emphasized the importance of these surfaces. Thief 3 also has this, but a lot less importance is put on it. Moss arrows used to be an essential tool.
Guys, that was the jewel of the game. That was what made the game special. The fact that you'd have to think about the floor that you are walking on. Whether it was steel, it would make noise. If it was a carpet, you'd be sounding silent, like very hushed. Or if it was tiled, you would hear the footsteps. So that was a very important mechanic in the game. And now it's been sidelined. Okay. New game.
Deadly Shadows, I used them one time. At least when I did it for sneaking. Now they're a choking hazard. Ironically, the reason I did use them was I went, oh, I probably need footage of using a moss arrow. What ended up happening was the sound of the arrow ended up alerting the guard. If a guard was around, the ideal time to use it would be better to not use it. Okay. It is more realistic rather than guards just not noticing like before, but you don't need moss arrows to set up a Kevin McAllister ambush. You just walk up and blackjack them. The surfaces just don't matter as much.
Okay. But when they collapse to the floor, they're not as dramatic as they were in number 1 and number 2. Especially in number 1, Thief 1, the way they were so dramatic when they fell. Like, you know? But here, it looks like they just fall down like planks. Oh, come on, man. How can you guys ruin such very subtle and very entertaining mechanics of this game? I mean, really.
It would be cool if guards could acknowledge the loud-ass thump of a body hitting the floor or the clatter of a sword. If we're gonna have a smaller level, maybe the takedowns could be riskier. There's already an in-game mechanic to support this. Magic users are dangerous enemies until you pickpocket their wand off them, so maybe you could choke a guard out or grab their weapon first. It's just so strange to have the sound be so much better but mechanically less important.
Can you use their wands if you steal it from them? I wonder. That would be cool.
Is one thing they hear really well. Before, if you picked up a junk item, you had a button to gently set it down. You don't have that degree of control anymore. You're at the mercy of havoc physics. I'll drop it on carpet.
By the... I hear thou there.
It seems way less consistent this time.
I hear thou there. Oh gosh. Yeah, it's that English. That old English.
Sound I make could do nothing, or have every guard in the zip code run over. So that's disappointing, but let's get into the gameplay. The most immediate change is how difficulty is handled. It now changes the enemy AI. For the record, everything I just talked about has been on Expert. The map won't change around and you won't get crazy new side objectives. Instead, you'll need to collect more treasure. On Expert, that's 90% of the mission's loot value and 3 special loot items. This goes for every mission. First of all, 90% is high. You typically had way more room to miss stuff before, or you just didn't have to loot anything. They realized for the sake of the narrative it would sometimes be a bad idea to make people hunt around for treasure. Deadly Shadows absolutely has maps that get hurt by this requirement. But more than that, not everyone wanted to play these games to pick up every piece of petty cash. Now you have to, or you get dumber enemies. They had such a good difficulty system, which added some replayability. It sucks to see it thrown out. The treasure hunting itself is made a little bit less clear. Let me show you what I mean. The screenshot has loot. Can you see it? Did you guess these 2 cups specifically? I would not have known, but the game now has a glare effect to tell you what treasure is. Candle on top is loot, candle on the floor is junk.
Okay, more spoon feeding.
These are some subtle differences. If the loot didn't have this effect, would you know to steal it? How about this one? Something by the jars? Also, this map has worthless banners all over the place. Looks important, not treasure. Out of the way, that's treasure.
Turn the lights off when I still need them. Truly, these are dark times.
What? So loot glare helps out, but it's not always there. Special loot in particular can require some reading, so make sure you're paying attention. Because the briefing won't tell you what to look for, you'll need to find clues in-game. It's that 90% requirement that's the problem. The one time I couldn't make the loot requirements in the first 2 games was Haunted Cathedral. But it didn't take me long. To pass it, you needed about 75%. You can miss a decent amount and still be fine. With 90, you can miss a single chest in a corner and have to hunt around for it. It's weird because these are the smallest maps in the series, but I probably had to go back and hunt for loot about 2 or 3 times. It's so steep that it actually takes away a story decision. There's a level called the House of the Widow Moira. I like this one a lot. It's a seaside mansion that reminds me a bit of Dark Corners of the Earth. It's also right next to the mission with the fish people. But this is good, there are secret passages and tunnels and it feels like a thief game. The thing is, I always want to call it the Window Moira because the widow's always staring out a window. You can help her out a bit and she'll send you a nice note, but that won't happen on Expert. Because now you have to steal the inheritance that her loving husband left her. She's like, not well. The sneaky upgrade actually has an option to change this because it's so weird. The thing is, none of this would matter and I would just say play on hard, but then you get the dumber AI. In conclusion, the difficulties are weird. As for the mission-to-mission gameplay, it's still really good. The same core gameplay loop is here with some enhancements and some changes. I'll start with some positives. Even with the sound inconsistency, the guards act smarter than before. They search more methodically and they're prone to noticing missing objects. They're better at running off for help and just working together.
I believe I saw something. It's very strange.
I'm with you.
Suspicious guards are now more of a challenge. There was a change to blackjacking that I didn't like at first, but I did grow to appreciate it. When you can score a knockout, it now raises automatically. It's now a sure thing that they'll hit the ground, because there would be those times when you had a perfect one lined up and it just would not happen. The catch is, if an enemy is now suspicious with their weapon out, you cannot knock them out with a blackjack. Their senses are high and they're bracing for attack. Something like that. Noisemaker arrows and other suspicious tools now get them amped, so distracting and stunning tools can't be used to knock people out. This does include the flash bomb. It is a little silly that this makes them immune, but flash bombs are very available now. It would be an I win button, but that's what gas is for. But that's more pricey. Also, you have to worry about the demonic chairs. They will try to kill you, and they give their users terrible power. I don't know why. Their power is that you can't blackjack anybody sitting down. That's weird. Everyone knows sitting is when you're most vulnerable to a blackjack.
You're kidding with that, right?
Don't try it. As for your robbery loadout, some items have been cut, but it's a good arsenal. How you use some items like holy water was changed around, and the only brand new item is an oil flask. You can set people on fire or just do Home Alone shenanigans. Out of everything, the bow and its many arrows have remained largely intact. Broadheads, water arrows, they're almost all here. Unfortunately, the one that was cut was pretty significant as you no longer have rope arrows. I guess vine arrows too if you want to stretch. I'm not entirely sure why this happened. It can't be the levels being too small since some do have some verticality to them. If I had to guess, it would probably be that it didn't work or it looked really stupid in third person. Whatever the reason, it is replaced with a new ability you get later on. Handy wall climbing gloves. They only work on certain surfaces and there is some,
So you're like Spider-Man now? Interesting. Okay.
technique to them. Remember the whole animation-based movement system? Well, that's still happening. See, here I can easily climb up because there's room for it, unlike here where there is no room. The ledge is too tiny and I'd fall, but this one is okay because there's a little more room, and this one, they expected me to climb through the banister? It's walled off. This is the only way to get up there. It's time to talk about the movement. The wall climbing is awkward and incredibly shitty lined up next to the rope arrow. You don't need to do it too often, so fine. But when I'm just walking and get stuck on the staircase, oh, it's bad. The third person view does let me see what I'm getting stuck on, so I feel less crazy because sometimes I'm stuck.
What are you stuck on? I didn't see anything there. Was it possibly the steps, the way they're designed, or I don't get it. Okay.
On nothing. Is it the pipe? Are the floor tiles too high? I don't know. I get through. From time to time you get stuck and it breaks down completely. If your movement suddenly becomes smooth and really good and responsive, it's actually because the game's breaking and your legs aren't moving. You can't do anything though, so you do have to reload a save. Let me show you the pain of it working. That jump seems pretty low, but is it too high for legs and too short for arms? Yes. In the previous games this would be a brainless jump, but now it's pretty tricky. What really gets me is I fell again and dropped on the platform below and saw this really high jump and then no problem. The things that can happen are beyond my understanding. And no, it's not the sneaky upgrade doing something because this has way less problems. Now imagine doing precise movement. I could do a tightrope before, but now look at this board. I lurch forward, the screen freaks out, and I fall, because each leg isn't really making contact. When I say the controls feel like they were designed for neither view, this is what I mean. In first person, I could climb it, I'm just being careful not to let a leg go over. But I'm fine after. In third person, it looks weird, but I can do it just fine. At least until I get to the pipe on the end, which I'm too high to jump on. I look down and try to climb, nothing. I go to first person, look down, then it works.
They really tried to adapt this game to the Xbox kind of experience of third. You know, they just tried to make it a bit compatible with players who would, want to play like this. Instead of playing it on, like how people who played it on the computer used to play it. Especially with Thief 1 and Thief 2. They really tried to accommodate those who play with the controller and who are playing it on the TV, and, they wanted them to experience the game differently. It's just that it's not really working out well. It's a bit clanky, yeah.
I don't know what you want from me. Third person was a mistake. It didn't have to be like contemporary stealth games. I wouldn't mind it if the controls weren't compromised. To no big shock, swimming is also gone. Which, again, is understandable, but then why have the Sunken Citadel? A level about a sunken ruin filled with fish people. Like, it's a fine level on its own. Though it might be the most appropriate in the series to have some underwater sections, and this doesn't have that. It's the slightly damp Citadel. I know Thief 2 designed levels before making the story, but this seems like that, but even farther back. Like assets were being made before they were sure what the mechanics would be. Most of the time, playing on Expert meant you couldn't kill anybody. But now you have free reign to kill combatants because it has to be more freeform. At one point in the story, Garrett is framed for killing a keeper, so he needs to infiltrate their compound to find evidence that proves he's innocent. And during this mission, you can kill keepers. The story and gameplay were incredibly intertwined, but that doesn't seem to be the case here. Whether it's story or just moving, there's a disconnect there. It feels like playing a different immersive sim. The starting philosophy was murder is the mark of an amateur. You could block with your sword and kill creatures, but you didn't want to kill people.
What can I do?
Like seriously, in Thief 1 and Thief 2, well, mostly in Thief 1, murdering someone was like a last resort. You know, you were there to complete a mission, you were there to use the shadows and darkness as your weapons, to evade. You know, you were an evasive character, you were not a confrontational character. So this is weird. But anyways, we continue.
Do.
The cold feels nothing now. Garrett, I begs, return me to the green. Kill me.
This is a pretty big moment in Thief 2. Garrett's always been adamant that he's a thief, but he's not a murderer. Gameplay-wise, it's simple, but as a character, it feels like a big choice for Garrett. You don't have to do this. Now you have a cool dagger to do backstabs with. Maybe they were trying to give more mechanical freedom to compensate for smaller spaces. I don't know what the reasons were, but it feels less focused overall. So now's a good time to bring up the city hub. After a mission, you come back to town, usually to Garrett's apartment.
It's not much, but it's home.
It's not a big equipment stash or anything, so you won't spend much time here besides robbing your neighbors and your landlord. There's now a town to explore and random pedestrians to mug. The area is as confined as you'd expect, but there are fun things to do.
Where is Victoria? I miss her. Where is she? I want her back. She needs to come back.
Besides random breaking and entering, there are many side quests to pick up. My favorite being sleazy fake Garrett.
All right, Mr. Brent. And don't forget, if you want Garrett-type services, you gotta offer Garrett-type prices.
It's nowhere near as elaborate as a mission, but they're fine side attractions. You'll also be doing a lot of sneaking or running. Garrett remains wanted by the City Watch, who will either kill him or throw him in prison. You skulk around finding secrets, and the town changes a little bit day by day. Nothing too big. More importantly, you're also unlocking new districts to visit. This gives you access to new black market fences. You have to pawn off all your loot after all, and some fences only deal in specific items. The same goes for buying new equipment from different shops. Everything is persistent now and carries over between missions. So you can hoard up items, but due to progression you can't get endgame stuff until later. Your health also carries over, so to not die you need to keep stocked up on health potions. I'm kind of conflicted on the hub. When I first played it and was exploring around, it seemed neat. It was a bit cramped like everything else, but it had good atmosphere, and I liked the idea of actually having to go and sell your goods. It was also interesting that you had to find the map so it would help you in some later levels. Then as I got more familiar with it and the novelty ran out, I started to not care for it. Especially when I found out that guards get tired after running for a while, so you could just outrun everything. You don't have to skulk around. Then as more districts unlocked, I switched around and started appreciating it again. I do like it as a grounding point, and without it, the game would be very short. The only thing I hate is how big of an area it claims to be. The city always seemed monolithic and ancient. Ironically, by actually showing it in a limited way like this, it ruins that effect. This brings me to the faction system.
The Hammers and Pagans are mad at me because of jobs I did for the Keepers. I better find out what they want and then decide whether or not I want to bother trying to improve their opinion of me.
This was not something I expected the first time I played. You can only get points with the Hammers or the Pagans since they're the ones having the gang wars in the street. This only affects how they react to you in the street. In missions you can maim or kill as many as you want, it doesn't matter. For the sake of gameplay it has to be this way. There are a few mini-quests you can do to gain favor with a faction, but you have two main methods. For the Hammers, you kill exploding beetles that eat their structures. They explode like they're an Aqua Teen hunger force and cause mass panic. For the Pagans, you shoot arrows in especially marked stones, like the big green one next to the letter giving you that assignment. So that's simple enough. You would think. That's not the stone. They look like this. They are barely perceptible. I can bet— whoa! Oh right, the mechanical eye does that now. It doesn't matter. Or maybe it should have highlighted loot. No.
Okay, I even forgot that Garrett has a mechanical eye from Thief 2, I think it was. Yeah. It's good that at least something from Thief 2 carried over into this Thief Deadly Shadows. At least something. So I'm happy. And I know it can zoom in and zoom out. Yeah.
No, I'm moving on. This helps plants grow, and the pagans like that. There are other things to do, but you can easily get on the good side of both factions. If you are buddies, you can hang out in their areas of the city without being attacked. Things that you might have to sneak or steal to get access to, they just let you have. If you're a moron like me and kill every bug and find every rock, you get a reward in your apartment. The pagans give you a shrubbery that grows moss arrows, and the hammers give you a pipe that drains Tylenol. Of course, with the way districts unlock, the game is basically over by the time you get these. I can only blame myself, and I do. It is kind of half-baked, but it does lead to one of the funniest parts of the game being even funnier. I'll get more into the story soon, but this is too good not to show. When Garrett is on trial for Keeper murder, he escapes, so they deploy the Keeper Enforcers after him. They're superhuman assassins who only communicate telepathically. There's a whole document about how cool and badass their training regime is, which I think is something I specifically praised Thief 1 for not doing, but they are very hyped up. They're always alert, always on the hunt for, wait, there's a beetle.
Is it Garrett? I hear someone.
The enforcers are using telepathy to communicate silently. I don't think they know I can hear them.
You disrupt my mission.
Is Garrett telepathic? I don't remember this from Thief 1 or Thief 2. Okay. New game.
And it sounds like they're killing people at random. Oh, Jesus Christ, what? They look scary, but I killed beetles.
I shall fell the beast! Tonight, having spite the builder's enemy.
This is chaos.
Master Payne, it is a great honor having you beating random people in our town.
Where's the damn watchman?
It's weird how some of them do the scorpion when they die. It's just... and then...
What's all this?
Priorities I want to criticize just fly away. Why would secret assassins go on a murder spree? Could telepathic communication use like ethereal humming or something more creative? All of that pales to how stupid the chaos is. They'll get a few townspeople, but in the end they get demolished every single time. You don't need to be an ally to witness this, it just makes watching it all unfold even easier. Like Thief 2, this game was also rushed. And I think the circus this part is one of those parts that they didn't have time to refine. This isn't a silly one-off thing either. The final boss mission also happens in the city. The enemies don't die this time, but it looks just as silly. To make it worse, the enforcers are automatically buffed a little by the sneaky upgrade. When I first played the game, this was even more one-sided. There's an option to make them cloaky and only hunt you, but I didn't want to ruin the vanilla experience. This is what came out, and I doubt it's what they intended. Getting into the story, I'm mixed on things, but overall kind of positive. On one hand, it is much more tell don't show. The game relies more on notes and journals than environmental storytelling, except for one level especially, which I'll get to. I remember it, it remembers me. Anyway, having a dictionary of what, like, all the insults mean is stupid. However, all the catching up new players stuff mainly happens in these notes. So the main story doesn't have Garrett retreading things that longtime players already know. It's to the point where first-time Xbox players were probably confused on what was happening. As a longtime player, I was happy with it. That said, some of these notes desperately needed a different way to convey the information. Ha ha ha, Garrett would never find my weakness, so would let him do this with his blackjack. As established previously, the Keepers have written everything that will happen. The Dark Project and Metal Age were both prophesized. They use their sneaky means to change destiny. Except now the writings appear to be changing on their own, so something's happening. Garrett, who keeps stumbling into this cryptic bullshit, is involved again. If he steals 2 items for the Keepers, they'll give him access to the prophecies. Most of the missions have nothing to directly do with this narrative. It's a similar layout to the Dark Project, but much more compressed. So here's what I think without spoilers.
The prophecies are clear. is much ahead to be wary of.
Initially, my thought was shining a light onto the Keepers like this was a huge mistake. The more you reveal about a secret, mysterious organization, the higher chances are that you accidentally reveal something stupid. It's them and precursor aliens. If you have precursor aliens in a series, the longer it goes on, the higher the chances are that some writer will say they created humans or were humans. It doesn't always happen, but it happens enough where I get nervous. Deadly Shadows was getting me nervous.
Ah, I see your point. And the error in your thinking. The compendium was lost ages ago. How could it possibly be on a ship that has just come into port?
What? What does that mean?
But enough, scribe. I have important business to attend to, in case you haven't heard.
Oh no, they're getting dumb.
You've moved up in the world, Orland. Nice view.
Yes, I have.
Character I've never seen or heard of before, but Garrett doesn't like him. I hope he's not trouble.
Like, I'm waiting for Victoria. I don't know who Orland is. Okay. New game.
This will admit you to certain areas of the library. Do not venture further. You will not ply your trade here, thief. If anything happens, you will be held accountable. Is this clear?
Perfectly.
The Keepers being revealed as squabbling bureaucrats seemed awful. I guess their previous mystique made me think that they were above all that, though at the same time it does explain more why Garrett left. I always accepted that, it wasn't a burning question or anything, but sure, the Keepers are flawed like anyone else and they squabble a lot. I thought the Keeper internal power struggle was going to be the focus, which it is, but some elements get twisted around. Interesting elements do come out of that, but unfortunately, some of it does feel like a retread of the Dark Project. If you don't want spoilers, go to here.
I'm here to stay.
Alright, forget the Keeper garbage for now, it's time for Shalebridge Cradle.
This place hath nothing of value for thee to steal.
I'm more interested in those papers of yours. If they can tell me anything about a crone that talks to statues.
Thou hast seen the hag?
Not just seen. She tried to kill me, but I hear you've been trailing her for years.
Yea, I hath followed her trail, but it hath not been clear. I had even doubted anon that her crimes weren't more than my own imaginings, but that thou hadst seen her as well. 'Twas in my boyhood, in the orphanage known as the Shalebridge Cradle, that I spied her. I didst play at a game with mine friend, and I was hidden, and my friend sought me. Then a hag, a bent in evil apparition, came from the darkness, near enough to touch, and my friend did scream. But I was a child, and afraid, and then 'twas over. The orphanage grew a dark and haunted place, and now none dare enter. When came I to mine manhood, and was saved by the order of the hammer, I sought the hag again.
The hag is our real villain. She's being revealed very late into the game. These are the final two missions. The setup is creepy, and the art reminds me of the old Thief cutscenes. It is a hard turn at this point, but it's a welcome one.
Okay, so we have the Woodsy Lord, Paris, and the Hag. Okay, 3 different arch enemies that that Garrett has to face. He didn't really defeat the Woodsy Lord. The Woodsy Lord was defeated by, I think, Victoria, if I'm not mistaken. Paris, I'm not sure what happened to him again. I forgot. I might have to watch Thief 2 again, but I think he was defeated by Garrett. I can't remember. But okay, let's continue on with the Hag.
I'm used to the dark, but this feels like a house with bad dreams.
Yeah, let's go in. Shalebridge Cradle is like a combination Pizza Hut and Taco Bell, but more pleasant, being a combo asylum and orphanage. Walking in, there are no guards, no signs of anybody. This will already be throwing people off. And then the noises start.
It kind of sounds like someone is swallowing something and I'm hearing screams at the same time. Interesting. Oh, it's his footsteps. Sorry.
There's so much tension. You have no clue what to expect. You've encountered the supernatural before at this point of the game, so now anything goes. There's so much restraint shown. You're allowed to explore and absorb the creepy scenery. You know it's effective when the lights come on and you feel less safe. Right when you're sort of getting used to the outer cradle, you need to go deeper. There was a loading screen here. It's gone now. I remember it making me feel even more trapped. Holy shit, I am invested. When people make lists for the scariest video game levels, the asylum appears frequently. A lot of the horror does come from not expecting it. You have encountered the undead at this point. They run now, but that still has nothing on the cradle. The residents are some kind of undead, so many of your usual tricks won't work on
Did he just throw holy water at those zombies?
them. But these aren't your average undead. These are the puppeted corpses of the asylum's prisoners. They never refer to this all being hag magic or something like that. At least I hope so. If it's written down somewhere, I didn't read it. It's all caused by the pure evil of this location. It's a traditional haunting. Besides the ghouls moving like Jacob's Ladder characters, the horror also comes from seeing they have some kind of intelligence to them. They're trapped in the past in quite a few ways. Each of the cells gives a little glimpse at the life of the patient who lived there. It is explained more in a note, but it is for the sake of gameplay. Unlike most other missions, there's a narrative here beyond just go steal the thing. It's a ghost story, so once again, you work with a ghost.
She looks familiar. It's that keeper translator girl. But that can't be. This portrait must be as old as the building.
I can hear you breathing. Nobody here in the cradle does that anymore.
Terry's voice acting is also incredible. Mystery of the time loop aside, she needs Garrett's help. The will of...
She looks like a Skyrim character, a Skyrim NPC. You know, the children with the short hair and with a skirt dress kind of attire. She looks like someone that you would find in Skyrim. Yeah, it's odd.
The cradle is keeping her spirit trapped there. To sever that link and free her, objects that remind the cradle of her must be destroyed. First, you get rid of a blood sample. Then you need to find her nightgown, which will need to be burned up in the morgue. It's not too eventful. When that's done, the patient's cells and their items come back into play. You need to choose an object and then bring it to where the patient liked to hang out, which you would know from reading the journal. However, doing so sends you into the past as that patient. Sort of. You can now be caught by the shadowy forms of the staff. They are deeply unpleasant. If you get caught, you'll have to try again with a new object in a new area, or load a save. Even now, this is still a scary level. I'm sure some horror game fans might not find it as scary as some modern ones, but at bare minimum, it should be pretty interesting. You can see the DNA that formed some later horror games. The series has always had some influential levels, and this time around, it's the Cradle. That said, if you are stocked up, you can obliterate all these haunts like crazy. Deadly Shadows has been very do-what-you-want so far, but if you want the best time, try and be sneaky. I mean, it's a video game. Don't you play those to have fun?
But, you know, essentially with Thief, you're supposed to be sneaky. You're supposed to be not seen and in the shadows. So, yeah, not confrontational.
Fine, fun's over. The Cradle is fantastic. For a while. As much as I enjoy it, I do think it overstays its welcome. Because after the Toy in the Past trip, you're still not done.
You get my diary? In the real world, it's all torn apart, and we never find all the pages. But in the past, it's just the way I left it.
Okay, all the way back to the outer cradle, back to the attic. Depending on the object you picked, you might be closer. I now have the diary, back to the inner cradle to burn it.
My diary is gone. Good. The cradle can barely remember me anymore. But it can still see the bloodstain in the attic. You'll need to clean it up and...
Alright, got the cleaner. Back to the inner cradle again. This stain is gone.
You did it! The cradle can't remember me anymore. We can leave now. Meet me in the lobby. I'll show you the way out.
With all that done, you can finally leave the cradle and...
Oh no, you can't leave, can you? I know why. This place remembers you now. You've been here too long. There's only one way to leave the cradle. You have to trick it. I'll help you. First you have to enter the past as your real self.
Are we going to make a 3-year plan for this? Does the cradle remember my tax returns? Do I need to throw them in the furnace? The tension gets pushed into tedium. The final sequence is great, but it feels like there was some padding to get there. It's likely another consequence of the levels being constrained. They can't have a massive asylum, so they have to run you through this a few times. It seems you could cut a task out and not miss a whole lot. Now you finally escape. Assuming you got all the loot you needed. You did that, right? So how is this ghost child alive?
Let the book of names record that... Interpreter Gamal, what's wrong?
Oh, look. No.
Curse her stinking, rotting bones! You think you can snare me, trap me with your secrets? I am secret, kept for decades. You scratch out glyphs and think you have them, but I wear them, drink them, breathe them, know them far better than you. I am glyphs now and for all time.
I'm me again. She can't use it anymore.
Gamal the Hag was using Laurel's body to disguise herself. Even with her being revealed as some kind of Lovecraftian John Carpenter monster, it feels like such a retread of the Trickster's reveal, and not even close to that good. In the Dark Project, the Trickster is a hidden in plain sight kind of villain. When you replay the game, you notice more hinting about him that you didn't before. Check out the cutscene before the Bone Horde. It used to be abstract, but oh, there's the Trickster ruling the woods. The Builder comes and humanity builds up and they cast him out. Now that you've played it, you have the whole picture. Deadly Shadows has conversations saying, have you heard about the Hag? I don't think the Hag is real. Who else seen the Hag? Say yeah. What I find more intriguing about her was what she was actually up to. She's an ancient, centuries-old magic user who infiltrated the Keepers. It is easy to do that when you help found the organization. The Keepers always thought they were safeguarding the city and changing fate. It turns out that with this kind of magic, destiny is set in stone. The Keepers had no real influence at all. She was manipulating them to think they were by removing key prophecies that would mention her, change notes here and there, and get rid of anyone who got too close to the truth. Then frame Garrett, because Garrett can turn people to stone, whatever. Garrett is a chosen one called the True Keeper. Ironically, his role is to destroy all Keeper magic, ending their power and control permanently. This could have been done in a creepy lair that the Hag has, patrolled by creepy animated statues, but instead we go back to the city hub. It's bad, but our favorite guard Benny does end up being a hero. At least in my game he was. Garrett succeeds in destroying glyph magic. The Keepers are revealed to all and their power is over. We're deep in prophecy and magic land, so this is up for interpretation. Whatever the case, it appears at long last that Garrett's story is over. The Thief trilogy is done, but a new story could start.
Let go of me!
That's not for you.
Please, sir, I'm hungry.
You have talent. It's no easy thing to see a keeper. Especially one who does not wish to be seen.
Yeah, it's kind of cheesy, but I love that ending. It's a solid...
I wasn't gonna say anything, but you said it's cheesy, yeah.
bookend, and even if you don't continue the series, it's satisfying. It could have been a better game, but it also could have been a hell of a lot worse. There are still special moments to be had. I know I spent a lot of this video talking about things that I hated or were a step down, but the bar was set so high by the previous entries that even this not being up to that is still a pretty okay game. If a wizard said I'm taking away your Thief 3 memories, I'd be sad. This game feels like listening to a song I love through an apartment wall. I can make out the beats and I'm not trying to sleep, so I'm having a good time, but I can't deny that all the fine details are being filtered out. Sometimes it's so muffled that I wonder, is that actually the song I like? They might be playing something else. Anyways, the trilogy sale is back on. A steal at 90 cents while I steal affiliation pennies. So ends the Thief trilogy, and who knows if it'll come back. There are still plenty of fan missions, and the Dark mod is great, but I can't see an official new game happening. Unless they pull a Deus Ex. That's a prequel that went over pretty well.
Take him to Detroit. No! No, not Detroit! No! No, please! Anything but that!
No. The answer is no, and I don't know what you're talking about. Any thoughts on the Diablo 2 remaster? Have they even fixed the Warcraft 3 one yet? I don't think they have. Pre-ordering modern Blizzard, especially a Blizzard remake, you are gambling. What's a game I'd delete from my brain to play for the first time again? Oh man, that's a hard one. My instincts say Stalker Shadow of Chernobyl or Metal Gear Solid 3. That'd be enjoyable. Maybe Mystery of the Druids? Oh look, Druid with an attitude right in the credits. I'll put those answers in for now. Have I heard of the new Warhammer Dakka Squadron game, and am I going to cover it? I have heard of it, but I'm leaning towards no. This is the second or third Warhammer Flight game I've heard coming out recently. I would much rather do some Ace Combat videos, but those are still a ways off. I'm still in the opinion that there are far too many Warhammer games, and for better or worse, a lot just aren't notable. I still have some I want to do, but most are just kind of mediocre. Alright, stay safe.
Okay guys, that was Theme Deadly Shadows review by MandaloreGaming. Yeah, Thieves 3, I would like to call it Thieves 3, is, yeah, it's different. It's different from Thieves 1 and 2. Not Thieves, but Thief. Yeah, Thief 1 and 2. It is totally different in terms of the storyline as well. Like, it's a whole brand new storyline with the hag and glyph magic. And yeah, the game mechanics are the same, but they've been watered down a bit, I would say. And, you know, there are some points in the game where your hand is held, you know, by the game, and it directs you where you should be going. And it even spoon feeds you the answers, which I don't think it happened in Thief 1 and Thief 2 really. Like I said, maybe they are really trying to make sure that it is accommodating to people who play on a console, you know, like the Xbox, and who are enjoying that kind of game mechanics, or what they would expect from a game like this. I don't know. All I know is that it's a bit different compared to Thief 1 and Thief 2. The graphics were better, way better than before, and you know, there are some things that are missing, like some characters, like for instance Victoria herself. Victoria, she was in number 1 and number 2, but she's not here in number 3. The past enemies we used to fight, Woodsy Lord, Paris. Well, I think MandaloreGaming did say that Paris was mentioned in the game, but he didn't really have a far more impactful effect in the storyline with number 3. And also Woodsy Lord, like, it's as if this person never existed. Although Garrett eye is still out and he still has that mechanical eye in him. What else? Yeah, no, it's okay. It's okay. But like I've said before, that I don't think I'll play this game. I don't think I'll play Thief 1 or Thief 2 or Thief 3. I can't. There's so many things that I'll have to download and you know, apply it to the game to make the game perform a bit better. So I don't know. I'm not into that kind of stuff. I like to download the game, install the game, and play the game, not look for added programs to support the game. I don't do that. I'm too lazy. But yeah, Thief 3 or Thief Deadly Shadows looks okay. It looks okay. Guys, I guess that's it. That's it with the trilogy Thief games. If you like the video, give me a like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Click on the notification bell if you want to be up to date with my latest videos. And I will see you next time with another installment from MandaloreGaming. Okay?